So what do you need to get this job done? You need jack and jack stands, a pry bar, 18mm wrench, 18mm socket, a ratchet, your new shocks, penetrating fluid, which would be very helpful, a hammer, wire brush or sandpaper, safety equipment including safety glasses and maybe gloves too, things like that. Okay, you see I already have the car lifted up. You'd put your jack stands there, or in this case I'm using my quick jacks, but you use your jack stands, but don't leave your jack there obviously. You can see the wheels off. You don't have to take off the wheel, but I find it helps significantly. It gives you room to work around. So now, before we start loosening things up, you are going to take your jack, the one you used to lift the car up initially. You probably use it to lift the differential to begin with, to lift the rear of the car. And we're just going to put that up. I just sped it up a little bit there and just basically put a little bit of the weight onto it. Just lift it up slightly, not very much. You can see there. So now we're going to spray down some penetrating fluid. Depending where you live, this is just helpful or completely necessary, depending where you live. So now I'm going to just take my 18mm and get that bolt moving first. They don't tighten up very much, so 63 foot-pounds, so you can see just a couple taps even with my hand gets it going. And once I see that so that's on the nut, and then I see the bolt was spinning, now I just take my wrench, 18mm wrench, put it on, and just get that nut right off. Okay, and the nut should just come out. Hopefully, if all goes well, will come just right out. Now I'll put the nut back on and use a hammer to give a couple taps to get the bolt moving. Hopefully you don't have it jammed in there. Should move pretty freely. Now when you're taking the bolt out here, it should come out pretty easily. Even here I wiggled it a bit and it did come out. You don't want to try and force it or punch it, because if it's giving you a lot of trouble, the threads may contact that metal frame and actually damage the threads. So it should be able to come out smoothly. Right, fairly smoothly. What you're seeing here is probably the worst case scenario. And then you do that on the other side as well. Now up here on the top of the frame, you see a clip for the brake hose. Make sure you release that as well and get the brake hose out. And you're doing that on both sides, and you have to do that because you're going to drop the axle a bit, not too much. You'll see I'll drop it off till it comes off the jack, and then I'll put the jack and put it back up, but just barely, just basically supporting it. But if you don't take off those lines, it puts pressure on the lines, so you want to take it out. Now, next thing up is we got to take the spring out, in which I just used the pry bar and pry it up. And just get it out and over. There you go. Look at some of that dirt that came out. And pull your spring out. There you go. Nice and easy. Do that for both sides. Then I took a wire brush here and I just cleaned it up. I could have used maybe a wire brush drill attachment. I have those and everything like that, but in this case here, just give it a bit of a cleanup. If I used a attachment though, it would have been actually a little better cleanup than this. I just wanted to give it a quick brush up and stuff. Sandpaper works too, of course. You can see all that buildup that's there, and then when you're done, you could spray it down too. Now you'll notice with the spring, you see this boot, that boot goes to the top. It could only go one section. See how it fits here? But the bottom has got a smaller opening. That's for that little boot we cleaned up. You can't even fit that rubber boot in there, so it could only go one way. So you put that in, and it seats nicely. All right, now when you look up there, if you see it needs some cleaning up, get your wire brush or sandpaper and clean that up too. I looked and actually looked really good condition. I was very shocked actually. I thought it'd be worse. So I just put that boot right up in there. It was a nice flat surface to work with. Hopefully you have the same. And then once you put the spring in, you're all set there. Now it's just a matter of using a pry bar and working the spring around. It's it out there. You see the lines hanging there, the brake line. You can see it hanging right there. There's the shock. Just repositioning the camera here. You can see the other spring. If you look to the right, I've already put the other spring in. That one actually went a little easier than this one. This one, you see, I'll struggle a bit. Sorry, excuse me. Yeah, there was some issues. It wouldn't work with me as well. The other one, I was able to just kind of go there and pry it, and it went on. This one, first off, I'm making one big mistake here. you should not do. And I have my thumb underneath the spring, because if that spring just pops right in, that could drop down on my thumb. Not a good idea, but hey, you know, sometimes we do what we got to do. So don't do that. If anything, hold the not the bottom of the spring, but the second and third rung of the spring. Yeah, like what I'm doing there, that's better. But you know, I was just trying to work it through and see, you know, again, safety. So I kept this. I could have edited this out, but I kept this to show you that, you know, it can be slightly annoying to work with. But it eventually gets it, so you'll see. I left the whole thing in there. It's just a matter of prying it and getting up and over. The other spring came out so easily. I haven't moved the differential or anything like that, but the springs are worn. Those are the original factory springs on this car. This is a 2007 model. At the time of this job, it was late 2020. So, you know, it's the original springs that are in there, and they have, even if you look at the comparison there, a little earlier in the video, you can see that they were compressed slightly, depressed slightly. They were not depressed, sorry, you know what I mean. They were not as sprung. They were shorter, and that's because, again, they've lost some of their springiness over time in the sprung material. So, you know, that it happens. So getting these ones on will be trickier than taking the old ones off. See, I got it pried up there, and I kind of work it a bit. And then we're going to go and work it a bit more. After all that's done, all you really got to do is put back in your lower shock bolts. Those tighten to 63 foot-pounds. And, you know, if you took off the wheels, put the wheels back on and tighten them up. Otherwise, then you just drop your car and you're good to go. So, you can see I got the spring in, and once I get my pry bar, got kind of wedged in there. I know, it happens. What are you going to do? But just work it around a bit, and right about now, there we go. Pop, and it's right in. See, nice and smooth-ish, smoothish. All right, so both springs are done. So now we're just gonna raise up. So in this case now, I had raised back up the differential, as you can see here, just to put the shock back in, to get it level with the shock. Raise it a bit more. You may have to make adjustments. You raise it up, then you line up your shock. If you see that the holes don't line up, like you'll see here, I'll put it, and the holes don't quite line up, you can raise and lower the diff as you need to make the adjustments. I had readjusted it here. I had nothing else but raise it or lower it, and right now it lines up perfectly. Bolt went in smooth. And then you can see I'll change the angle here. And of course you're doing this for both sides. So I'll put the nut on. Then I will use my ratchet and my 18 mils and get it all kind of snugged up. There you go. See, pretty straightforward. Nothing unusual about this. You'll see how it tightens up if you look at that metal frame. See how it kind of tightens to it. Here we go. And then I move over to my torque wrench set at 63 foot-pounds. Tighten that up until I get that nice, satisfying click. And then after that, you're all done. You do the same for the other side. As you can see, I mentioned over there. And put your wheels on if you took them off. Good to go. Thank you everyone for watching. I do appreciate all the support out there. Don't forget to throw a like on that video if it helped you, if you found the information useful, anything like that. Make sure to like it. Don't forget to subscribe, help the channel grow, and hit the notification if you want to see more of my videos. If you dislike the video, that's okay, no problem at all, but don't be a troll, alright? Make sure you put why in the comments. I mean, maybe I missed something, maybe I got something wrong, maybe there's something you feel better, or you didn't like how I filmed. Whatever it is, put it in there. I make these videos to help people out, so I can only make it better if I get the feedback, but I need the feedback. Just don't be trolling, alright? Otherwise, if you have any other comments, feel free to do so. I answer questions whenever I can. If you want to add something on there, if you have a helpful tip that maybe I didn't cover, I didn't even know about, make sure to put that in the comments as well. I want to thank everyone, and I will see you all next video.